Welcome to the Opus Projector Tool training videos. In this video I want to show you some ideas to spice up buttons and soft keys also, it's really the same, to make them visually more interesting and or more dynamic. I have prepared some things, but first I will start with a new page. You do know that when you have a button, let's make it squared so it works best with these symbols. You do know that you can take a symbol or any other picture for that matter, drag and drop it on a button, and then you have two ways to go really. You can add the image as an object, a picture graphic object, then it will list here as that separate object, and then if you want a bit more dynamics regarding pressing the button, you select press state, take another image and add it as well, that you know. And alternatively, you can also not use the separate objects and instead, let's do some other. You select released image for the released image and pressed image for the pressed image. In this case, there are no children of this button. There are no separate objects for these images. They will just be listed directly as properties of that button. Now for this, which way to go is really up to you. I don't think it matters in any way other than you waste two IDs, maybe, if that is of any interest at all, but it shouldn't really, it doesn't matter. It's really up to you. Maybe a difference is that if the images have IDs, then you can modify them, you can manipulate them. You could dynamically load a different image file into this picture graphic object at runtime. So if this was something you wanted to do, then that would be the way to go, because you cannot really do that here. Okay, so you know that. But maybe sometimes that is not enough. Maybe you want a little bit more. So let's take a look at what I have prepared. On this page, a button with an image in it, but it's more than an image. In fact, it's a list object with several images in it. And if we take a look at that in the simulation, you'll see that depending on the value of this variable that I had connected here to this numeric field, the image changes. So with a simple variable value change, you can change the look of that button. Might be very interesting for certain situations where maybe the ECU controls what the button does, and depending on what it should do, you want to show that with a different image. The next idea is something like this. So let's go back to the projector. This is also a button, but in the button there is a container. Now I don't know if you've worked much with containers. They are basically invisible frames with not really many properties except for position, size, and the visibility. So they're not really anything, but on the one side they allow grouping objects, and on the other side they allow freeing up the space of this button, because usually you can only put one object for each state of the button. So if you put a picture, it will be a full-size picture. If you put a string field, it would be like this, and so on. With a container, you're freed of that. And what I did, I put a string field here, and I put a picture graphic here. So you have an icon to visualize whatever the button should do, but you also have a text, a string field, which can explain what the button does. Maybe the combination is sometimes better. If we go a step further here, go to the next page, I can show that in the simulation again, because here it's really just that button. Now it looks the same. We have a string field and we have an image, but this time, you may guess it, we don't only have an image, we have a list object. So we have like a headline, and then we can have different images depending on what the button should do. And finally, we combine that. We have our button with a container with two list objects, one with several string fields, one with several images. And now let's take a look at that in the simulation. Now, in this example, both change at the same time because I connected them to the same variable. But of course, it's also possible to put different variables on the images and on the text. I cannot think of all the possible use cases and situations. Maybe it makes sense to have that separate. All these things definitely can make buttons, and again, soft keys as well, because all the things I showed to you now You can also do with soft keys that can make them visually more appealing and can inform the user better of what a button should do. So that's it for this video. See you in the next one.